This month's Veterans Voices correspondent Noga Kessler talks with Marine veteran Sherman Gillums Jr.
Good evening and welcome to A Veteran's Voice. I'm Noga Kessler, Veterans Voices correspondent, and today we have with us Sherman Gillums Jr. Welcome, Sherman.
Thank you, Noga.
Sherman enlisted in the Marine Corps at the age of 17 in the year 1990 and served until 2002. And he retired as a Chief Warrant Officer in 2002. So why don't we start, Sherman, if you could share with us a little bit about what brought you to join the military.
As a 17-year-old, you don't think much about why you do things beyond how cool it might be. So I think as a kid, it just seemed pretty cool to leave home. I lived in Buffalo, New York. That's where I grew up. And I wanted a job where I could be proud. I think I was in search of an identity. And certainly the recruiting materials make a compelling case for a pretty cool identity when you're a kid in high school. I was smart enough to go to college. I just wasn't encouraged to do so. And the military was going to pay for a lot of things that we couldn't afford to pay for, such as school and just leaving home. So why the Marine Corps? It was just about wanting to be a part of the best in my mind. And I thought at that time that the Marine Corps, if I wanted to be the best, I had to be among the best. So that's why I made the choice to go into that branch. But the military itself had been in my family for generations. My grandfather served in Korea. He had brothers and uncles, and they served in every war, every branch of the service. So it was probably as much in my DNA as it was in my desire to be something. And it was a great experience because it was the first time I could see America in its fullness. And what I mean by that is I saw people from all over the country in every shade of skin color, every socioeconomic background. We all got our heads shaved. We all had the same uniform on, and we were all expected to do the same thing. And that's where you get the best appreciation of just how much we all have in common in terms of our humanity and how similar we are despite where we come from. But that shaped my early insights into humanity and our responsibility to, and it is a responsibility to look for the similarities rather than the differences, because that's the only way the Marine Corps functions is us being on one accord. And so I spent the next 12 years after that under that sort of culture where you didn't look at who somebody was, you looked at what they could do more than anything. And I really liked that, the sort of upbringing in my young adulthood, because it would later inform how I would lead. I was a drill instructor myself. I got to train over 400 young men and make them Marines as well. So I got to sort of return the favor and move that process myself. So that even helped me even have develop a deeper understanding, because then I had to be the one who shaped their thinking. And it wasn't that hard when you get enough people together who want the same thing.
When you left the military, sir, and I know we talk about this all the time, and it's such an important thing to talk about, the transition. How was the transition for you when you left the military?
The transition for me when I left the military was not the way any of us want to leave the military, involuntarily due to injury. I was in a vehicle crash where I'd suffered an injury to my spinal cord, and because of that, I wasn't fit for duty. And it happened so fast. I was 29 years old. It happened so fast that there's no way to prepare for that. There's no, financially, mentally, you do what you can physically and mentally because you have to recover. But there's no way that even as you prepare for war and combat and the possibility of catastrophic injury and limbs missing and things like that, it doesn't, when it happens so fast and under circumstances you don't expect, that's not ideal. So there's no pride in it. And because of that, and at the same time, you're losing that identity that you fought for, in my case, since I was 17, it stripped away everything I had. I felt I had everything gone in a blink. And so leaving that behind was very tough. And I had to recreate an identity that I'd never had before as an adult. having to sit for a job interview and write a resume. I'd never had to do that before. So I had to get involved in living life, quote unquote, normally, like most people, but I was at a big disadvantage because I also had to recover before I can get to that level of normalcy.
Who were those that assisted you? Was there a particular place that really kind of helped you through? Who were those folks?
I've had the honor of going back and help young men and women who shared a similar story because I understood what worked for me. And what worked for me was for the first time seeing an individual who had suffered the same injury that I'd suffered and was maybe about 10 or 15 years removed. So it was kind of like a preview of what was ahead. And to the extent that those individuals were filled with optimism, with purpose, with vitality, it felt good. It felt like I had a chance and I was going to be okay because I see what it looks like, despite having to live in this way that I could never conceive or see myself even enduring. Now I see what it looks like. And I think that peer connection was important early. So the earlier you can get people around individuals who suffer a catastrophic event, even if it's trauma that doesn't necessarily injure you in some physical way, having people who understand is the first step. And of course, we can talk about medicine and therapies and all the other interventions, but I think the real magic happens when you surround yourself with people who know what you've been through. And I think that was the most important step for me in my recovery.
And sir, what now are you involved in? What types of things are you doing right now?
I decided to take a chance and move clear across the United States and work in Washington, D.C. In the belly of the beast, as some of us put it, and try to change laws and advocate for people who have no voice. That's been a big part of my identity, is giving people a voice who have no voice. And so I went to DC with the idea being that we would change life for veterans with severe injuries and illnesses, as well as their families and the survivors they leave behind. And I spent about 16 years doing that before mental illness advocacy grabbed me and pulled me. So now I work in an organization that focuses on advocating for individuals who live with mental condition, in some cases mental illnesses, but still have a chance to live given the right support.
We are so lucky to have you, sir, in wherever you go, in your advocacy and the work that you do and how you serve. So appreciate that. Thank you so much, sir. It was an absolute privilege to have you on our Veterans Voice, and we wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.